Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. Welcome, new viewers. Welcome, Maverick family. Welcome, everyone. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, Joe Biden, his mental capacity, his senility. Well, his senility is clearly on display again today. What's the point in even trying to sugarcoat it? That seems to be what it is. Today, making another verbal slip, saying that Putin is losing the war in Iraq. What else are we going to show you tonight? Smoke from the wildfires making its way down to my area here. I have some photos which I need to line up. We're having some technical problems here in the studio tonight, though, which I am trying to fix on the fly, and that has kind of distracted me, waylaid me, made it a little difficult to get the editorial material prepared for this evening. However, I will do my best as I struggle alone here tonight to bring you some interesting news and commentary. So stay with me. I will be right back after these messages.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So Joe Biden made a bit of a mistake, an error, fumbled the ball, fumbled the verbal football. He said during a scrum with reporters today, Putin is losing the war in Iraq. So he was speaking with reporters just before leaving the White House to go to Chicago. And when he was asked if Putin had been weakened by the uprising, unrest, attempted coup, whatever, however you want to describe it, that's when he came out with this strange verbal jumble. I guess let's just bring it up and and you can again judge for yourself. But here's his response to the question today.
To what extent has Vladimir Putin been weakened by recent events? It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he has become a bit of a pariah around the world. And it's not just NATO. It's not just the European Union. It's Japan. It's 40 nations.
Wow. So just in case you missed it, I think we have a better rendition of it here. Hang on. He says Putin is clearly losing the war in Iraq. Iraq.
Hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq.
Wow. Yeah. So I just sit here and I start to think there have been so many huge mistakes, accidents that I'm losing track. How many times has he honestly soiled his pants, fallen down the stairs of Air Force One, fallen off a bicycle? What was the other thing that he did? I think I still have that queued up. Hang on a second here. There's so many of them. I actually have some of them on standby. I may have deleted it. I might have in my archives here. The one where he was speaking when he came to Canada. And oh, here it is. I've got it right here. Look at this. Oh, my. Here we go. And this is him speaking in Canada when he recently visited the Great White North. Listen to what he said here. Oh, come on. Here it comes.
So today, I applaud China for stepping up. I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking.
No, I can't really. I never know what's going to come out. I never know what's stored up inside that guy's brain.
So today, I applaud China for stepping up. I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe. Isn't it ironic that we have these investigations going on and all this controversy surrounding Chinese interference in Canada and maybe money flowing, and there are also questions about Hunter Biden's connections in China, and then he comes to Canada and he says he applauds China. I mean Canada. And today, another verbal slip. The guy is not all there. I mean, it's funny, but it isn't funny. He falls down at that graduation ceremony. What was that, about a week ago? Says he tripped over a sandbag, fell down. It just never ends. And I think the media is finally, even the mainstream media is finally beginning to sort of turn on him a bit. It's, I think his days may be numbered after all. That might work out well for RFK Jr. or maybe another candidate who steps forward. Still a little bit of time to kind of get things cranked up there. But Joe Biden clearly not up to the job, clearly not really in charge. The guy is nothing but some sort of sick puppet being controlled. Whoever's behind him pulling the strings, those puppet masters are the ones who are really choreographing everything, including, I would say, this war in Ukraine, not Iraq. Not Iraq. Wow. And this is a guy with his finger on the button, you know? If he can't keep it straight, if he can't figure out where he is half the time, how can we trust him with the nuclear codes? How do you know he's going to make the right decisions? This guy. I mean, look at this guy. Shameful. Absolutely shameful. So Russia's ambassador to the United Nations today tweeting, saying our stakeout for journalists on Nord Stream sabotage after closed UN Security Council consultations on the issue. Let's just bring this up. He says, we asked for closed UNSC consultations again on the topic of the Nord Stream sabotage. Last time we reiterated the necessity for Germany, Denmark, and Sweden to update the council on the course of their investigation. This hasn't been done. So let's just take a look at this tweet from Dmitry Polyansky. And up we go. And there we go.
I know. Okay. Let's do it step by step. So, dear colleagues, I just wanted to brief you on the fact that we asked for closed consultations of the Security Council, again on the topic of Nord Stream sabotage. Last time we did it, yes, so we, I don't know, if I am too tall or, okay. So we asked for these closed consultations again. Last time we did it was less than 2 weeks ago, but during this meeting, last time we reiterated the necessity of the authorities of Germany, Denmark, and Sweden to update the Council on the course of their investigation. This haven't been done yet, and in the meantime, we have learned that they have organized, the authorities of these countries, in particular Denmark, they have organized the tour of journalists to the place of the sabotage with all the equipment, making pictures, showing certain aspects of the situation, and of course promoting the conspiracy theories that would be aimed at shielding one country which we all well know about. So we think that this is absolutely unacceptable situation, that our country, as a country that is affected by this crime, should be absolutely updated on this situation. Same as Security Council, because as you all remember, during the last discussion, the open briefing, all the members of the Security Council were united in the message that there should be information from these three countries about the course of their national investigation. Some of the members of the Security Council were asking for quick international investigation, same as we were. The others were asking to give some time, some space to these three countries, and the majority of the members of the Council supported this scenario. But we see that after that meeting, nothing has materialized, and we have all the reasons to demand to demand from these authorities to speed up the investigation and to update the council on the results before we consider further steps how to make those who are behind this crime accountable. Thank you.
Ambassador, on the events of this past weekend, is there any information that Russia's intelligence knew about the mutiny, as your president calls it, before, as the Biden administration had? And what is the future of the Wagner Group?
Well, these questions are much above my payroll, as you might understand. I am not dealing with these internal issues. There are a lot of speculations in this regard in Western press. I will also not comment on them. I think all the clarifications have been made recently by the president himself. So I don't think that there will be more authoritative source than him.
Ambassador, you called a meeting on Thursday about Ukraine. First, can you tell us what was the point of that meeting?
The point of the meeting is to analyze the situation with the deliveries of Western armaments and military equipment to Ukraine and how it affects the prospects of finding peace to Ukrainian crisis.
Do you not have a problem, though, arguing anything now in the Security Council about Ukraine, given that your invasion has backfired so spectacularly with a march on Moscow at one point?
I don't see any connection, frankly. This is absolutely internal matter. And really, I'm very surprised that you take this kind of logic. This is internal issue, and we settled it.
It's deeply embarrassing, isn't it, though? President Putin declared and condemned a mutiny, and then he's done nothing about the mutineers. He looks very weak now.
I absolutely disagree. I think he looks strong, and our country looks stronger than ever because we were united to repel this mutiny. And if you think otherwise, then I think you might somehow change your optics, because you have maybe a little bit.
One final question, if I may, on the Wagner Group and their activities in Africa, clearly in countries where the Security Council is interested and that are on the Security Council agenda. My understanding is that in both Mali and Central African Republic, the agreement is actually between the Russian Federation and those countries. So will the Wagner Group continue to operate in those two countries?
Frankly, I don't have the data maybe that you have, but I don't have such information. I think you need to ask comments first and foremost to the governments of these countries. This is their sovereign decisions, and I think that the latest events showed clearly that the Wagner Group is detached from the government, and we're not taking decision for this group.
Sorry, Ambassador. But it's still, whether you say you're detached or not, you are a member of the Security Council, and the Wagner Group is operating in those countries. So I'm asking you, can you try and seek clarification of whether the Wagner Group is going to continue its operations? What is your understanding?
I don't have even information that Wagner Group is operating in these countries, because this is a private military company. So how should I have the information about its activities? Same as American colleagues do not have a lot of information, as they say, about activities of different private military companies in the world. So why do you ask me these questions and so insistently? I don't know. I don't see any connection of this situation with the situation in Ukraine, first and foremost. This is our internal matter, which was settled in a very resolute way. And we're absolutely sure that our country has gone from this experience stronger than it was ever. And the president of authority showed to be... I'm sorry, with great respect, don't you abuse
your answer doesn't make sense. The Wagner Group has been enmeshed in the Russian military operation in Ukraine since 2014. They work side by side and have done with your military. And you're telling me the Russian government knows nothing about what the Wagner Group are up to.
But the fact that Wagner Group was making a rebellion against the Russian government, doesn't it show that Russian government was not involved in this situation? Many of Wagner fighters are real patriots of Russia, we admit it. And that's why they were participating in this fight against NATO in Ukraine. That was their deliberate decision, and we respect it, and we hope that there will be others who will be joining our legitimate fight for our freedom and independence. Okay? Yeah.
Your mission accused the hosting country, the United States, of incitement of defections. Do you have more details on this? And have you talked to your counterpart of the United States as well as the UN on this issue, and what's their response?
Of course, we raised this issue several times. We all face constant provocations, constant materials from the internet, persons approaching some of us. Of course, this is very futile attempts. I don't know what they are counting on. This is the breach of diplomatic practice and diplomatic protocol. We are indicating to our American colleagues and to the host country committee that this is absolutely unacceptable.
What's the response from the United States?
The response from the United States? No comment, as usually. When they are embarrassed, they usually do not comment things.
United Nations.
The United Nations, they, well, kind of an ostrich policy, you know, in this regard. They say this is a bilateral matter, but we do not think so. So we raise it in host country committee, and we will continue to raise it in host country committee bilaterally. And of course, we think that this is absolutely outrageous.
Mr. Ambassador, what is your reaction to the many commentators who have said that what happened over the weekend with the Wagner Group has weakened President Putin, and some commentators have said that it leaves him open to being challenged for the presidency in the next Russian elections upcoming?
I think I already answered this question. The people that are asking this question are obviously not Russian, and they do not understand Russia. Because if they did, they would really see it from absolutely different optics. The country has become more stronger, and the president's support has consolidated, and I think that's quite obvious for everyone who is open-mindedly analyzing Russia, not who has some Russophobic optics. They are, of course, disappointed, and I think that we will continue to disappoint them even more.
Going back to the topic of the North Sea and the pipeline, then you say that Germany, Denmark, and Sweden are not informing the Security Council soon enough. Now, did Russia ask to this country directly, bilaterally, to move on the investigation? What was the answer, if you did? And then again on the question of Russian diplomats, your mission has been lamenting with the Secretary General that the FBI somehow, some way is harassing you. Can you give us some specific about that? What is really happening? Why you think that you can't do well your job in New York at the moment? Because what's happening?
Well, if I start from your second question, then I can tell you that it can be in different forms. Somebody would approach you in the streets saying that if we want some cooperation on your future, on your brighter future, you know where to find us, trying to get acquainted with our diplomats and with our staff. Sometimes you open Twitter and then you have this popping advertisement that FBI is thinking that you need to have a better future, so you have this or that contact line. But I think you have you can judge by yourself the futility of these attempts from the moment when the special military operation started. As for the first question, yes, we repeatedly approached the three countries asking to be part of the investigation and to update us on the state of the investigation. They declined. We published this correspondence after we had this open meeting in the Security Council, and it's available as a UN document. Those who want to have a copy, they can ask Theodore, and we will share with you this document. It's not a secret. So the outrageous part is that they absolutely deny us any information. They say it's classified. They say that they're dealing with it themselves, and then they organize this kind of tourist tour to the place of the sabotage, inspiring journalists to make some further absurd conspiracy theories, shielding some elephant in the room, as we all understand. So trying to shield responsibility from those who are really culpable of this sabotage. That's what really was behind our desire to discuss this question once again in Security Council. Okay, maybe if it's one more question, and No? Okay, then thank you, everybody. You,
Thank you very much, Ambassador. So will you raise the question of Nord Stream again at the Security Council next time?
absolutely, no doubt about it. We just need to understand really the degree of readiness to cooperate from the three countries in question, and we do not intend to put this question under the carpet. Okay, thank you very much.
So, if you have Russia asking for a more thorough investigation of what happened with the Nord Stream pipeline, and then you have the United States and NATO countries sort of pushing the issue to the side, not paying any attention to it anymore, what does that tell you about who really wants to get to the bottom of what happened? Wouldn't those actions alone, doesn't that in itself speak volumes? It does for me. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality.
And there hasn't
Maverick
been a case
News.
of malaria.
Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Malaria making a comeback? Really? The CDC issuing some sort of warning. Here's a report from News Nation.
Well, the CDC is issuing a warning after 5 people caught malaria here in the U.S. Worldwide, 619,000 people died from the disease in 2021, and there hasn't been a case of malaria caught locally in the U.S. since 2003. 4 people in Florida and 1 person in Texas have been exposed to the disease so far, which is typically transmitted through mosquitoes. News Nation's Allie Bradley joins us now from the southern border. So, Allie, what are officials there saying?
Yeah, right now we can tell you is these 5 cases here are the first to be confirmed locally in more than 2 decades is what we're looking at here. And when it comes to this disease, yeah, a lot of people are concerned about it. So what we know here is that the CDC is reporting that these 4 people from Florida and then another person from Texas contracted this disease between late May and late June through what they're saying is local transmission. So it's really important to note here that malaria is not contagious, you guys. The disease, though, cannot be passed from person to person. Instead, a person contracts this disease by being bitten by a mosquito that's carrying the malaria parasites. So I did ask Border Patrol if they were concerned that malaria and other diseases were in fact coming over the border with migrants seeking a better life. This is what they had to say.
When we're hearing that there's individuals coming into the United States from all over the world, a lot of them are not getting screened, they're not getting checked, they're asking for asylum, they're just getting released. It was just, it was going to be a matter of time before we started seeing a lot of these, illnesses and diseases that we haven't seen in America for a long time. All of a sudden coming up again.
Now, the CDC says that all 5 of those individuals have received treatment and are recovering. They are keeping an eye on any additional cases. But the reality here is that the United States sees around 2,000 cases of malaria. But again, those are from people that are traveling outside of the U.S. and bringing it back in.
So, Allie, have you received guidance? What should people do to protect themselves right now?
Run for your life.
Yeah, so right now it's really important. Obviously, we know how to prevent mosquitoes, right? We need to drain that standing water. So if you have bird baths, anything like that, maybe even tires that can collect standing water, you need to get rid of that. You need to watch for that. They're also recommending wearing long sleeves and pants as well, especially during the morning hours and then at sunset as well, because that's when the mosquitoes are most active. So those are some things to, of course, worry about. But when it comes to the testing that's happening with Customs and Border Protection, Art Del Cueto tells me that unfortunately a lot of these people aren't receiving the adequate screening that would show malaria. Because here's the thing, if they're not showing symptoms, they're not going to undergo that screening and go to the hospital for care because of malaria. So that's something that we have to watch for. But again, it is not a contagious disease.
All right, an important story to talk about. Allie Bradley, thank you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not really familiar with that reporter, but this is just kind of a side, an observation. I really like her delivery. I think she's very authoritative. I like her voice. For what that's worth, she's very strong on camera presence. I like her. I mean, from what I saw there, maybe when she does other things, I won't like her. But I thought that was a pretty good report. Anyway, yeah, I'm not familiar with her. Anyhow, mosquitoes, malaria, yeah, diseases making a comeback. It's not the only one. So just a heads up, protect yourself. Wear lots of mosquito insect repellent. So we also know tonight that pieces of the Titan submersible, which imploded while it was carrying 5 people down to the Titanic, have now been recovered and are back on land. There are some photos that have been taken by Canadian press as well as Reuters. They're now making their way all around the internet and to other news services. The debris has arrived at port in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the U.S. Coast Guard has issued a statement saying that presumed human remains recovered from the sub's wreckage would undergo analysis by American medical professionals. It is the United States Coast Guard that is leading the investigation into the implosion. We do have some video for you here to show you what the recovery looked like today in St. John's, Newfoundland. Catastrophic failure. Very sad story. A lot of people on social media, including some commentators, being very critical of the news coverage insofar as they are comparing it to the kind of coverage that refugees lost at sea receive, saying that this is receiving a disproportionate amount of attention simply because, well, they're suggesting it's happening because the people who perished were all rich versus poor refugees who maybe die at sea and do not get nearly as much attention. There may be some validity to that, I suppose, but there's no getting around the fact that this story about the Titan is it is news. It's unusual. It's different. That's what makes it news. What is news? It is. It's the unusual, the unique, the different, the important. This fits into a lot of different categories and meets the criteria. It is news. Are refugees lost at sea? Is that news? I suppose it's news in a macro sense when it's ongoing all the time and people are aware of it, but when it becomes a regular occurrence, a daily thing, it diminishes in terms of its importance as news, not in terms of its importance as an actual event, a human event. The tragedy of all of that is not diminished. But of course, we as human beings can only fixate our attention on a subject for so long. So that being said, the investigation into the Titan implosion continues. And as I say, the U.S. Coast Guard leading that investigation, a lot of people saying a lot of things, a lot of speculation. And we also know that the U.S. Navy actually picked up an acoustic anomaly consistent with an implosion just shortly after the sub lost contact with the surface, the day that it disappeared. And yet it was, I think, 2 days later, at least 2 days before the U.S. Navy released that information. In other words, they knew. It appears they knew that something catastrophic had likely happened and where, and it really did not release the information to the public until about 2 days later. Some speculating that it was delayed. The delay in release of the information happened to take the focus off the Hunter Biden scandal. True? I don't know. Difficult for me to say. I can't say. I can only tell you that that's what some people are alleging. So in Canada tonight as well, there's a program for institutions at risk from hate crimes, which has been now expanded to shelters. Marco Mendicino, the Canadian safety minister, says that today the federal government in Canada announced that places of worship and other organizations can apply for funding now through this program for the newly expanded security infrastructure program, which they can use to protect themselves from, drumroll, hate-motivated crime. So this program is supposed to help community institutions make safety-related improvements. And it's also going to now include shelters for victims of gender-based violence. I guess another way of saying that would be to say women's shelters. So this is a $5 million security infrastructure program. And it covers as much as half the cost of security equipment for things like lighting, fencing, alarm systems, surveillance cameras, up to $100,000 per project. And so you can see that what the federal government in Canada is really doing is they are now making these $100,000 grants available to places of worship, certain organizations that fit into a certain category. I don't know, though, what the criteria would be for, say, a Christian church. But I would say that for sure a mosque would receive the funding. Would a Christian church receive it? Maybe. But the fact that I'm sitting here asking the question also speaks volumes, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Thank you for answering the question. No problem. Does that make it rhetorical? I don't know, but you're echoing. Stop it. Okay. Let's move on then, shall we? Let's do that. Jimmy Kimmel. Ha ha ha, funny guy. Oh, why am I making myself laugh just by saying that? I don't know why. Why? I don't know. Why are you talking to yourself? Because you started that a few minutes ago, and this is leading into the Kimmel piece. Okay, well, then let's get on with it. Fine. Jimmy Kimmel tweets tonight. Let's bring it up on the screen. I used to like Jimmy Kimmel, not so much anymore. He tweets, wow, we each gained 29 pounds. That almost sounds like nonsense. There's a good possibility this guy is Borat. You know who Borat is? Another funny guy. What is this in response to? This is in response to Robert F. Kennedy, who posted, in the case of my interview, or hang on, here it is. Yeah, sorry. Americans gained, I was on the wrong section. Americans gained an average of 29 pounds during the COVID lockdowns. And then he says, I will help turn this around by encouraging our citizens to exercise, eat well, and fortify their immune systems by removing harmful chemicals from our food. So then, of course, so Kimmel's post was a response to that. And obviously skeptical, not believing that American citizens had on average gained 29 pounds. But fortunately, Twitter came to the rescue on this one by allowing readers to add some context to this discussion, saying that according to a 2021 APA survey, 42% of Americans gained undesired weight during the lockdowns, with the average weight gain of those individuals being 29 pounds, not average weight gain per American. So what are they saying there then? So 42% of Americans gained weight, and the average weight gain of those people was 29 pounds, not average weight gain per American. So of the 42% who gained weight, I guess what they did is they aggregated the data and they looked at like what total weight gain and then divided it. I don't know. I guess they divided it among all the people. They came up with an average using a particular mathematical formula and came up with 29 pounds. Of those who gained weight, the average across the board turned out to be 29 pounds. So I still don't know. Does that mean that what they did is they looked at the total amount and like one guy maybe gained 1,000 pounds? And then they took his 1,000 pounds and divided it up among all the other people who gained a pound each. I don't know. I don't know what the formula is. What are you asking me for? Don't. Stop it. Fine, I will then. What? This is turning into a weird broadcast tonight. I don't know what else to tell you. Except I don't know why people put so much stock in comedians. Like, seriously. Why? Like, who cares what Jimmy Kimmel thinks? What makes him so smart? Nothing. I agree. Thank you. You won't need a call-in show with me here, you know. I know we can just sit here and talk with each other all night. It's going to be great. Very entertaining. And funny. Oh, yes. You're putting your mental acuity on display tonight. Well, I'm no match for Joe Biden, that's for sure. You can say that again. You see what happens when you start watching Joe Biden videos? You start to go just a little bit loopy. Yeah, let's take another break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the air quality Yeah.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Toronto. The Big Smoke. They do. They call it the Big Smoke. A lot of people call it the Big Smoke. And today, they're saying that Toronto has the worst air quality in the entire world. Here's the CTV report. I'll just bring it up from their website. Toronto air quality currently among the worst in the world. There it is. Look at, there's some video. Worst in the world. Due to the wildfire smoke earlier today. According to data from Swiss air quality tracker IQ Air. Environment Canada. Shouldn't that be Environment and Climate Change Canada? Yes, it should be. Yeah, that's the full name now. Said smoke plumes from those fires have migrated to other parts of the province, including the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, resulting in deteriorating air quality. Well, they don't seem to care about where I live. That's a bit of a snub, because I'll tell you, when I woke up this morning, well, actually yesterday too. Yesterday was worse. When I woke up, there was smoke even here. And I've never seen that before. It was particularly pronounced early in the morning yesterday when there was mist and a little bit of fog mixed with the smoke, and it looked much worse because you've got that sort of humid early morning mist that hangs over farmers' fields and over, grassy fields, and it leaves the dew on the trees, and you could smell the smoke mixed with the moisture, and it gave it a kind of a unique smell. Some people saying that it smells like plastic. I didn't really think that it smelled quite like plastic. It was a unique smell, very much like a campfire, but with just a little bit more of an acidic tint to the acidic. No, that's not it. I can't really quite describe it. I think it was the moisture, but anyway, that's me. And I also noticed a fair amount of smoke, more smoke actually yesterday in London, where I was traveling yesterday and today. London, Ontario, Canada, that is. And again, that's where I grew up. And I have never seen smoke like that in my hometown. So it was unusual. It was different, for sure. And definitely for that reason, newsworthy. And people with breathing problems, respiratory issues, of course, are being advised to remain indoors. And some health food or health stores, health stores, alternative health stores, very active, selling air cleaning system thingies to people. Air purification systems, sort of cashing in on the opportunity and the concerns that people are having. I've noticed that. I've noticed it online. I've noticed it. I've noticed people talking about it too. So I'm sure that more than a few of those systems have been sold, especially to people who might have breathing problems and are concerned about inhaling any smoke. So it does make one pause and think about what is really going on. And of course, we've talked about it quite a bit here on the Maverick News channel. We've seen a lot of speculation, a lot of theories about what's causing them. The truth is, we still really just don't know on par what is causing these fires, other than we know statistically that generally 50 to 60% are started by people through a variety of means. In some cases, it's outright arson every year. It's also campfires not properly extinguished, cigarette butts thrown out windows, exhaust from cars like catalytic converters and exhaust systems, which become very hot and can ignite grass on fire, sometimes without even the owner or driver of the vehicle realizing that that has happened. Sparks flying off brakes or overheated brakes from trains can also ignite brush or dry grass. And of course, it's been dry in many areas across Canada, and that is leaving many areas vulnerable to the spread of wildfires. And once you get one, the burning embers can float up into the air and actually drift and then land in other places and start even more forest fires, wildfires in other areas. So fires start other fires too. But we really don't know. And I know there are investigations, in particular out in Alberta. The new premier out there, Danielle Smith, has ordered an investigation to determine how many, if any, of those fires were intentionally started by arsonists, potentially. And we also know from history that sometimes people start these fires intentionally because they want to get jobs fighting the fires. And that is a documented fact where people have been caught doing it and have been held accountable for their actions. Now, I was somewhat skeptical of some of the images that we've seen coming from places like New York and other US destinations. I still stand by that. I think that the mainstream media, in some cases, was manipulating photos or using zoom lenses and using photographic techniques to make things look even worse than they are, to generate more clicks, more likes, more subscriptions, more sales, to get more eyeballs on their content. So today, while I was in London, day 2 of my stay there, I snapped a few photos of what the smoke looked like today. So this would have been about probably, this was around noon today. And no photoshopping, just straight shots right out of my phone. And I'll share them with you here now. So that's what it looks like. Now, from the photo, it might not look that bad. And I would say overall, it's not really, really bad, but there is more smoke than there appears to be in the photograph. There is smoke in the sky. It just appears gray, so you can't really tell. Here's another shot. Now, I shot the sun specifically because if you look, it's diffused. And the fact that you're seeing the sun in the middle of the day in that manner, that you're able to sort of take note of it in that way, tells you that the smoke, the haze, is obscuring the light coming from the sun, making it, somewhat easier to be able to see. Not that you should ever look directly into the sun, but there you have it. And if you look, you can see that it looks like haze. That is smoke. And that's out of focus. And that's slightly out of focus with my phone. And there's that's actually a hospital. And you shoot up and you can't really tell, but you could smell it a little bit. And today was not nearly as bad as it was yesterday. It was much clearer today, but that is what it really looked like, not photoshopped. And I have to tell you, I don't want to exaggerate, but I also don't want to understate. I can tell you there was more smoke than there appears to be in those photographs. So those photographs I would say, did not really provide an accurate depiction of what it was like here today. As time has gone on, the smoke has continued to sort of clear out. So it's not as bad now even as it was midday. So the wildfire problem persists here in Canada, and it will, I think, throughout the rest of the summer, because we always do have wildfires, forest fires throughout the summer season across Canada, especially in the northern parts of the country, and especially in BC, Alberta, and Quebec and Ontario, especially where there's just a lot of heavy, like there you go. There's CTV's video. Now see, hang on a second here. Let me bring it up. Okay, you see what they're doing there? Now I showed you my shots. I could have taken a different kind of camera and a different lens, and I could have given you a shot like that today. I didn't do that. I just shot just straight out as I stood there. But when you shoot into the sun, you get those buildings in silhouette, and they're zooming in from far away, I think, based on my experience with ENG video cameras, electronic news gathering cameras, like the one that they were likely using to shoot this footage here. And yeah, you can see the haze, definitely some smoke there. If you zoom in, you can make it look, you can make the smoke look more pronounced, because as you zoom in, you're capturing more and more and more smoke in a smaller target area. So the layering of the smoke becomes more pronounced in the image itself. And when you shoot with the sun, into the sun, then that sun is backlighting the smoke that's in the atmosphere. If you turned that camera in the opposite direction and shot with the sun behind you, there basically would not appear to be as much smoke, because the sun, the light, is hitting it from behind and traveling away from you instead of traveling towards you and through it in a brighter fashion and putting more of an orangey tint to it to give it that brown look, for whatever that's worth. It is true, though, that this is an ongoing problem. It's tragic, especially in the areas where people have lost homes and buildings across the country. And I certainly hope they get to the bottom of it. And Godspeed to all those who are out there still tonight fighting these wildfires in provinces right across Canada. Yeah, just hope they all stay safe and get those fires extinguished. So don't go away. I will be right back after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, I'm back. And what else can I tell you? Many people messaging me over the last week asking me what I know, or if I can bring us all up to date on what is happening with these plans for a new freedom convoy in Canada. And I don't know if we're actually calling it a freedom convoy. It's certainly a convoy. And I did mention it the other night. And this is what I can tell you. And this is for sure information. This is what I know to be factual from sources that I have in low places. There is another convoy being planned. For those of you who maybe are not in the loop, many of you being tuned in and very aware and daily consumers of news and information, I probably have already seen some rumblings about this and you've probably seen some videos online. So there is something happening. There is a plan to put a new convoy together. I know that a lot of the the regular players in this are already on the road. Sort of the main characters from the movement, if you want to call it that, whatever it has become, and they're once again promoting this idea of unity, and a lot of them are trying to put differences aside and end their infighting, and they are rolling. And right now, they're all rolling out toward Alberta. And there is a big meeting out there at the Whistle Stop Cafe where they're going to be meeting and talking and discussing what they are going to do. Now, I know that information about this convoy, which is called East Meets West, some of it has now been, some of the details have been released. And what do we know? Well, we now know that the destination for this particular part of it will be Toronto, ultimately. But right now, it appears we have a lot of the players sort of rolling across the country. I think it's almost like a promotional tour to sort of drum up support and stop along the way and explain what the plan is for this big protest they're working on. It appears that they do have some momentum, some real traction happening. How many? I cannot say. I do not know. And I don't have all of the details. I think that they are actually still working some of their plans out. But Toronto has been announced as the destination. They are not saying yet what the exact date is going to be. It could be sometime sort of mid-August all the way through into September. It appears from the information I received today, the most up-to-date information, September is probably the most likely month for it to happen. I think it will partly depend, and I'm speculating here, it will depend partly on what happens in these meetings that are about to take place, I think even this coming weekend. So that's kind of what I know about what's happening with this new, I'm going to call it a freedom convoy. But I also know that when people get to Toronto, the main focus of what this convoy is going to be about will be the gender ideology issue. It will be all about drag queen story time. It's supposed to be focused on LGBTQS plus issues and flying of the pride flag and all of the issues that have come with that and what's happening in schools with regard to these issues, gender affirming care, hormone replacement therapy for children, trans youth, whether parents are going to be allowed to, or if they should be, whether they're going to be told or not told by teachers that their son or daughter might be changing their pronouns. It's about parental rights, curriculum in schools. These are the issues. They're using this hashtag save the children. Hashtag save the children. I know that as well. Now, I also have to say that that particular hashtag has several different meanings online. There is the Save the Children charity, which has nothing to do with any of this. And they've been using hashtag Save the Children for many years already. But back in, I believe it was as early as 2020, Facebook blocked that hashtag for a time. There are stories out there where they are alleging that hashtag Save the Children was taken over, was being used by QAnon groups in the United States during that period of time. And I think you can find more up-to-date reports where they're suggesting that QAnon organizations continue to use hashtag Save the Children. All of that really referencing online material or directing people to online material, specifically dealing with pedophilia and grooming and child exploitation, child trafficking, and a lot of the mainstream media that has made reference to those forms or those uses of the hashtag Save the Children hashtag. They're suggesting that a lot of this is still going on, but I don't think it's blocked anymore. Now, I don't know again what happens exactly when you try to use that hashtag to highlight content or to direct people to or direct content to people using that hashtag, because it is being used for a number of different purposes, not the least of which is the Save the Children charity, which again has nothing to do with this. And they went so far a couple of years ago to issue an actual statement saying they have nothing to do with the kind of efforts that are now ongoing here in Canada to rekindle the convoy spirit, the convoy activity, and get a whole new convoy going, this time to Toronto. But medical mandates, not the issue they're focusing on this time around. Now it will be gender ideology issues specifically. And we are seeing daily protests practically now in various parts of Canada, and many of them quite large, outside school boards, libraries, any place where drag queen story time might be taking place. You're now likely to see some sort of protest, freedom oriented protest there to I guess crash the party is essentially the way to describe it, I guess. And that's the theme for Convoy 2023, this time in Toronto, late summer, early fall, September-ish. We'll see how it goes. I would say, based on what's gone on in Ottawa in the past and other attempts to get other protests going, at this point, I can pretty much guarantee the government, Justin Trudeau, Doug Ford in Ontario, the Premier, police services, including the Toronto Police Service, at this point, no doubt, already taking note of this, because the announcements have been made kind of low key and sort of unofficially online, but there is chatter about it already. So I don't make any mistake. They're already aware, and we will see how far they allow this thing to go. Of course, everybody has the right to protest, and here we go again. locking horns. They'll be locking horns, I'm sure, over this with the authorities as they get closer to the date and on the day of or days of or whatever they have planned. We will find out more about it, though, in the weeks ahead, and we will keep you updated right here on the Maverick News Channel. Make no mistake of that. We're dialed in. We know what's going on, and I will share the information with you as appropriate and as it becomes available. And I'll be available with more right after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Magic Moon wants to know, can Maverick have a news channel with the new laws? Very good question. I don't know. I don't know what will happen, especially on Facebook. Can we have a news channel on YouTube? Yes. What's happening to us on YouTube and other social media platforms is this. We are being suppressed. We are under attack daily, especially because we are specifically news-oriented. We are categorized as news. All of our content is set up to rank as news content and show up in the search engine rankings as news content. We present ourselves correctly as a news outlet. What will be the impact on us in the short and long term? It is not clear. We are not legacy media like the CBC, CTV in Canada, but because we are based in Canada, we are caught in that net that has been cast by the federal government through bills like Bill C-11 and Bill C-18. These are really bills set up in many respects to restrict free speech, even though they have innocent sounding titles like the Online Streaming Act. Bill C-11 is the one that really affects us in, probably the worst way, because it forces the social media companies to rank legacy media highest in the search engine results on platforms like YouTube above us, because we're not legacy mainstream media, we're independent media, and the bill forces Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc., to adjust their algorithm to give preference to the mainstream media outlets, whereby they suppress us. I can tell you that it's working. It's difficult right now for anyone to find us in the search results. In addition to that, I can tell that they are also suppressing the channel by manipulating the subscriptions, the number of subscriptions that we receive. I've been watching for the past month, and every time we add another 99 subscribers, if we go over and get to 100 new ones, suddenly they dial it back by as much as 20, and 20 will just disappear. And this is happening almost daily, where we climb back up, we get to the next threshold where it looks like we're going to just jump over, and then we lose about 10 or 20 subscribers. We just can't get past that hump. They've been doing it for a long time. Strange things like that going on. Bill C-18 is a little bit different. It forces, or was designed to force social media platforms to pay money to the legacy mainstream media outlets like CBC, CTV. The idea is that because the mainstream legacy media has lost advertising revenue, and a lot of that money has been ad revenue is now going to social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, etc. They thought, the federal government thought, well, we'll just tell them to redirect those funds for the ads that they're running, a portion of that back to the mainstream media, and then problem solved. We'll save them. Well, Meta has already made it clear they are not going to run mainstream legacy media content on their platform anymore because it is not worth it to them if they say if they have to pay to run it. So, and they will. They had a similar policy that they implemented for a short time in, I believe, Australia. And finally, the government backed down on that, as I understand it. I might not be getting the details on that particular portion of this story correct, but that's basically what sort of happened over there. So make no mistake, Meta will do this. They will pull news content. Will that affect us? I'm not sure at this point. We're not monetized anyway on Facebook or YouTube, or we've been demonetized. So I don't see why they would care, except that if we are caught in the net of that legislation that would compel Facebook to send us money simply because we're billed or we present ourselves correctly as a news organization, then Meta, Facebook might just actually delete our accounts or do whatever. I don't know. It's murky, not clear at all. So we're waiting to see. And this just also illustrates why we have to continue to fight to preserve free media. Government sticking its nose in, honestly, where it doesn't belong, trying to control the conditions, control the market, control what we read, what we see, what we hear, what media we are allowed to consume, and in what quantities and how much Canadian content these platforms are mandated to present to us. This is, these are the unintended consequences of government intervention, and we have to continue to try to push back against it. That's what we've been here to do from the very beginning, is to present an independent perspective, to be another representative of you, the people, here on this platform. We are the eyes and ears of the people. We, as independent media, rely entirely on you, though, to support the channel. Without you, we wouldn't be here. You guys keep the lights on with your donations. We are not, as I said, monetized. We have no sponsorship here on the channel at all. It's entirely up to you guys at this point. We may get monetized again on YouTube. I don't know when or if they will even allow it. I can tell you this: they offered monetization to me through these Maverick News accounts on Facebook, and I did not do it because as soon as they started to offer the monetization, they started sending messages through making it clear that there were particular kinds of content that we've been covering that didn't fit into their monetization policies and ran afoul of that. Not so much content that might get the channel banned or anything like that, but there was certain content that they said wouldn't allow them to, you couldn't monetize it. Too controversial or whatever the reasons might be, or doesn't fit their narrative, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't monetize the channel because I'm trying to maintain as much latitude in what we can talk about on these platforms as possible. We still need Facebook. We still need YouTube. because so many people just insist on watching on these platforms. I think in particular because the chat rooms work the best. And I think the technology being used on Facebook and YouTube is the best. Rumble is getting there. They're very, very good. And we need you to subscribe over on the Rumble channel, please, because that is for us really where the future is. And we are growing over there and it's working. And I truly, truly appreciate you guys just going over there and subscribing. And if you do, you can still come back over and watch on YouTube. But at least then if we, do ultimately get banned or something, kicked off YouTube permanently, we'll still be over on Rumble and you can catch us there. So like, share, subscribe. Make sure you ring the notification bell if you do subscribe on YouTube. That's very important. That way you get notices every time we post a new video. And on Facebook, yeah, share, share, share. What's this phrase? Yeah, sharing is caring. And yeah, we're, on a lot of different platforms as well with the rebroadcasts. And we have the actual audio only podcast that goes out now too. So we're here and we're doing our best. Don't know where it's going to end up, but we're here standing against censorship. I personally find censorship in a free democratic society abhorrent. That's my position on it. I think that, bad ideas, the best solution for that is to provide more information. So you can defeat or expose bad ideas with better, more logical arguments, information. So don't go away. We'll be right back right after this message.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm getting the phone lines set up, so get ready. Get your dialing fingers ready. Here's the number to call.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Okay, so the phone lines are open. We'll start to get some calls into the queue here momentarily. And again, you can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. And you can also donate at maverickdonations.com. One sec. I had to mute my microphone while I sneezed. Freedomreporters.com or maverickdonations.com. And the phone lines are open. Let me just scroll down here. And we'll get you that phone number on the screen again. You can join the conversation at 1-833-975-3733. 1-833-975-FREE. And we are ready to take our first call of the night. And Steve wants to talk about mosquitoes and malaria. Hello, how are you tonight, sir? Yeah. What are your thoughts on skeeters? No, just the one thing. Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about releasing those modified mosquitoes into the environment. Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. You know what? I have to add you. Hang on. Just one moment. Steve, I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't have you up on the screen properly because this system, we're just having trouble with it. It takes a little while for it to kick in. So there you are. Let's start from the beginning again because they couldn't hear you at all. My mistake.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead. The floor is yours. Let's talk about where we're at with the mosquito issue and Bill Gates.
Right. Well, I was just saying there that within 24 hours of learning about the 5 cases of malaria, I had seen that Bill Gates said that he had finally been successful in using mosquitoes to inoculate somebody with a vaccine, and that vaccine happens to be for malaria. He said, I don't know, the guy put his arm in a box of about 200 mosquitoes, and anyway, ended up being successfully vaccinated now for malaria. And as you must have heard, Bill Gates has been releasing literally tens of millions of mosquitoes in Florida and California.
Yep.
Earlier this year, I think about 3 months ago, 12 weeks ago, thereabouts, he released 50 million in Florida alone. I remember, I think it was, WHAM, World Alternative Media. He's a fellow Canadian, Josh Sigurdson. He had covered it at the time and in depth, and he had said, gee, I wonder what kind of, what's really in the mosquitoes. And a lot of people had suggestions, and malaria was one of them at the time. And anyway, so I just think it's all well too coincidental that 5 cases of malaria after 20 years show up in the States. Bill Gates is now inoculating people with mosquitoes for that same illness. And it's just all too convenient for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that when they do something like that, where they take, they're playing with fire when they're manipulating nature to that level. And I don't agree with it at all. I think it's reckless. And I agree with you. It's a little too coincidental. And I've had a feeling that someone would, like yourself, call in tonight and mention this. We actually did cover that story here months ago about Bill Gates and the release of those mosquitoes.
Yeah, I kind of
certainly think this is related.
I think the factory, or I guess, I don't know what you call it, lab factory for this endeavor is actually not even in the United States. I think he's done it in South America, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And, that always increases my wariness. Like, well, what is it that you have to take it out of the country to, perhaps a country with more lax laws, or I don't know. It's Bill Gates. I have no trust for that man whatsoever. And I think he's just the dummy for somebody else, and he does more or less what they say, much as, I think other people as well. perhaps our prime minister even. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, very good point. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'll wish you a good night, Rick, and let you get on to some more calls.
Thank you, Steve. You have a great night, my friend. All right.
Great, you too. Thanks.
Okay. Who do we have in the line next? Go ahead.
Good evening, Rick. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm fine. Welcome back, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
So I just wanted to say that it's not smoky out here at all. It's very sunny, very warm, really nice.
Good.
The air quality is really good out here. So sorry that you guys are, I guess you guys must be still getting the smoke from Quebec. I don't know, because you ain't getting it from out here, I'm sure.
I'm not sure. Maybe there's some, more fires up in Northern Ontario and it's drifting down this way. I'm not exactly sure where it's coming from, but there was definitely smoke here today. Well, and yesterday. Yesterday was more substantial than today.
Oh, well, yeah, I did see, your pictures there over Toronto there. And of course, mind you, I've seen lots of smog over Toronto too. So at times in the summer, so you can't really tell. But yeah, no, I mean, we don't even hear about fires out here anymore. Like, I'm sure they're still burning, but I mean, obviously they're knocked down enough that they don't even talk about them anymore out here.
Yeah, actually, I've seen the air quality here where I live, not in the London, Chatham, Windsor area, where I've been driving along the highway in past years, and I've seen smog, which drifts over this way from the Ohio Valley across the lake.
Oh, okay.
Across Lake Erie. And yeah, I've seen some years in the summertime, there's a lot of haze, very similar to kind of what we're seeing right now. Not so much today. It's dissipated a lot. Tonight it's almost just back to clear, but yeah, it isn't just the forest fires. Sometimes it's industrial pollution from over in the Ohio Valley around here. So it depends on where you live.
That's very true. I did see your dog video that you did a few nights ago. I thought that was very, very cute. Your dog's very cute. And when you did that story, I was just laughing. I was like, what next? Like, seriously, dogs are turning because of the climate. Yeah, right. Okay. Like, the BS just keeps getting better every day, right?
Yeah.
You don't know, like I said, you don't know what to believe, what not to believe anymore. But
it just gets ridiculous.
I mean, dogs go out on a hot day and they pant. That's a given thing.
Yeah.
We go out on a hot day and we sweat.
All I can say is somebody got a lot of research money. That's
no
all
kidding.
That's
oh
what
my
I'm
God.
Thinking. That's what
well, and I guess so I seen you showed a picture there. They're bringing up some of the parts from the Titan there.
Yep.
I didn't think that I thought they weren't going to even pursue to try to bring anything up. So I just that shocked me when I seen that thing you just showed on there.
Yeah. I had no idea what they were going to do, honestly. So
I mean, there must be obviously that was a pretty big piece they brought up.
Yeah,
right.
Well, they got a bunch of pieces. There's quite a bit of they got a lot of the wreckage. So yeah, and some human remains apparently. So maybe
really? Oh wow.
Yeah. So there will be a medical examination and.
Well, and you said there that the news didn't go on about those refugees. Well, I seen it quite a bit on the news. They're all packed on this boat that you can't even stand. So then bad weather comes, or maybe it's too full, for the amount of people on board. And you hear that all the time. And it's really tragic that these boat owners allow this to happen with these people trying to feed these countries. And it is sad. It really is. I mean, yeah, you're right. Maybe they should get more attention to it. But like you said, it happens so often that it doesn't become a story anymore.
Yeah. And that's the reality of everything, right? I mean, how many times do you cover the same thing over and over and over again? Well, these are issues that have plagued mankind for ever, right?
Yeah.
Poverty, immigration. So what do? You cover. It's still a problem. Do another story today. Well,
Yeah,
people only listen for
exactly.
so long. So, it's easy to, criticize and make those kinds
Oh,
of
for sure.
comments.
It is. I mean, a human's a human. All lives lost are a tragedy. Like, I don't like to see anybody get killed or hurt or whatever, right? So your last caller there, is it Steve? Was that his name?
Yep.
Or your first caller? So I'm kind of confused. So he said Bill Gates released a whole bunch of mosquitoes. So are you saying that these mosquitoes are already infected with this and then they're biting people? Or like, I'm kind of confused by what he was talking about.
So, okay. So let me just bring up what this is. He has genetically modified mosquitoes, as I understand it. Okay, so, and maybe this is being disputed online. So let me just bring up what I'm finding.
Okay.
But there have been many stories about this. Bill Gates releases mosquitoes. They did something to these mosquitoes. It was months ago that I did the story, so I apologize. I'm not entirely.
Okay.
I can't remember everything about what we said. So here's India Times, and they're saying Bill Gates. Let me just bring it up on the screen for you.
Okay.
And I hope that we haven't been caught in a misinformation trap at any point here, but India Times saying
I hope not.
Bill Gates funded firm released 150,000 genetically modified mosquitoes in the wild. A biotech firm funded by Bill Gates has released these mosquitoes, it says, into the U.S. to curb mosquito breeding and gain control over the spreading of diseases like malaria.
Okay.
So it's designed to control the mosquito population. That's what it was. It had something to do with the sexing of the mosquitoes, or it's something so that they stop breeding. So you get fewer and fewer mosquitoes over time. So
I'd be happy with that.
Oxeter, a firm based in Abington, UK, has already tested these mosquitoes in Brazil, Malaysia, Panama, and the Cayman Islands, but hadn't received regulatory approval for the US, but it has finally received it now. The mosquito species in question is the Aedes aegypti, must be Latin, that comprise 4% of the mosquito population in the Keys, a chain of tropical islands on the southernmost tip of Florida. However, these are responsible for all mosquito-borne disease in the region. According to the study, researchers have bioengineered male Aedes aegypti mosquitoes to mate with the wild female population. Females are known to bite their prey and cause dengue. I don't know what that disease is, or malaria. The genetically engineered males carry a gene that passes to their offspring and kills female progeny in early larval stages. The male child won't die, but they'll continue to possess the gene that will pass on to future generations. With the death of female mosquitoes, the Aedes aegypti population is expected to drop considerably. Yeah, maybe they'll go extinct at that rate eventually. That's the danger, right? And then you're upsetting
And I'd be okay with that too.
nature.
Well, that's true because you get bats and you get all other things like that. That's what they eat, right?
Yeah.
And dragonflies. If you see lots of dragonflies around, you're going to have lots of mosquitoes.
Right. So
that's a given.
Right. And the issue I have with this is once you do that and you release these mosquitoes out into the wild, how do you control it? You can't. They're out.
Well, you can't. No way.
What are you going to do? Run around with like a big mosquito, like butterfly net or something, and try and catch them? If everything starts going wrong. Oh my God, we've got Frankenmosquitoes out there now, and we have to get them because they have fangs. Quick, Dispatch
my
the army
God,
with
I
the
know.
butterfly nets, and we'll catch them. No,
Yeah.
man, they're out there
Oh
now.
my God.
So
Oh,
they've all
well, remember what was it?
laws of nature, man. It's scary to me.
Oh, yeah, they shouldn't. You shouldn't tamper with cloning. You shouldn't tamper with nature. No, it's just, you shouldn't tamper with what God made. I just have bad feelings about things like that happening. It's not good.
I
It's not good.
And
But
then,
anyway, I
just
won't.
as a side, don't go away yet. There's more to say. I have to tell you, I was visiting with my parents and my son today, and my son mentioned
nice.
that he brought up this subject that I really hadn't clued in to. People are cloning their cats. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Come
yes,
on.
I actually heard. I know a lady in Calgary. She spent almost $50,000. This is the third time she's trying to clone her beloved cat.
Yeah.
And she's pretty sure that this one will take this time. And she goes, well, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, yeah, there is something wrong with that, because to me it's like, okay, so you loved your cat. It passed away sadly. So move on, maybe get another cat. But you're still obsessed with the one that passed away, because that's why you're doing this. And the money that you're putting out, who has that kind of money? Just sitting around, throw it away.
And what I've learned is that even if you clone a cat or any life form, you don't actually get a carbon copy. You get something similar, because a lot of the physical attributes are not decided through genetics. These physical attributes, things like fingerprints, the color of a cat's fur, it's developed not genetically, but it's in the womb, and it's other factors that determine those things. So you can have an exact genetic copy and yet still have a cat come out that is unique. And if you did it to a human being, every human being, even if cloned, would still be unique. Because
very true.
If you got cloned, your clone would not have the same fingerprints as you. And that's
right. They wouldn't. They're right.
Because the fingerprints are not determined through genetics alone. It's external factors that determine that.
Well, isn't that like sort of like your DNA and that kind of stuff? Like everybody has their own personal DNA. Isn't that like when they do fingerprinting and that kind of stuff?
No, DNA is your genetic blueprint.
Okay. I don't know much about DNA.
It's just more things like environmental factors in the womb that determine things like that. As the cells develop, they sort of they grow in particular directions, and they're just factors involved that are not controlled by genetics alone. It's temperature. It's, like even temperature, with the way things expand and contract can affect the way a cell might grow, or nutrients. Right? How much calcium is present versus, how much water. How much, was the host mother dehydrated on a given day? So that might affect development in some other way. It's not just genetics. So people are spending all this money to get a copy of their cat, and they're coming out and they're different. And that's why that lady that you mentioned keeps doing it over and over again. She's trying to get a carbon copy, and you can't do it. But you know what that says to me?
Yeah, no.
It says to me, no matter how hard these, I don't know what you want to call them, global control freaks try, they cannot defeat Mother Nature, or God, if you want to call it that. You can't. You can't.
That's right. You can't. You can't. And they shouldn't even be trying. Right. I mean, that's just beyond normal. That's just that's just strange. I couldn't even imagine. Like, can you imagine you clone your cat, and then your cat's running around the living room, and you know, it's not the exact same cat, but it, like you said, it looks like it. Maybe one would act like it. It's just creepy. There's just something about that's just eerie about that whole thing. Yeah. Maybe it's just me, but I just think it's really, really bizarre.
And then I was thinking, I don't know if I would want a clone of me around. I don't know if I could stand myself. I don't know if I'd like my own company.
Another one of these? No, I don't think I'd want that. No, that'd be bad. But you know, it's funny. When I was young, when I was a young girl, I always thought, like, I had two older brothers, and we were quite a distance in age. And I always thought it'd been so cool to have a twin sister, like identical, right? Because if I didn't feel like going on the date, she could go. How much fun could you have if you have a twin, identical twin? Like,
I don't know. I don't know, but the boyfriend might have a pretty good time.
Well, that's what I mean. And he wouldn't know any, really. I mean, wouldn't know any different, right? Until you both showed up in the room together. Then he might be a little puzzled. But I always thought it would be kind of fun. But obviously it ain't going to happen. But oh, well, you know how life is. Got to look at some fun stuff in life here. What the heck, eh?
Yeah, I just
gotta have some positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much gloom and doom every day. You gotta. I have my days where I'm really, really frustrated with things going on, and then other days it's like, you know, I'm just gonna go up my yard. And yesterday, someone came and trimmed my hedge, and it looks so nice now. And then you know, some days you just have to do that. You just have to filter out everything that's happening and give yourself, like Leo with his garden. You have to do that or go for a walk, or like you said, if you don't, you're going to really go crazy eventually. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And in fact, I've been going so crazy that I was down at the hospital today because my mom was having a little thing done there today. So I was down at the hospital and I was walking around and I thought, well, you know, maybe I'll get a brain transplant. And then I changed my mind. So I didn't need it.
You're a smart man. You don't need Oh, that's funny. But I hope your mom's doing well anyways.
Yeah.
Neither are. Anyways, I will touch bases with you personally instead of over here. I got things to tell you, but I'm not going to do it on the air here.
Okay.
So just to let you know, I have some info. So I'll be getting hold of you. And I got the T-shirt today. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll let you go to your next caller. And sorry for holding everybody up. And we'll chat with you later.
Thank you, Chris. You have a great night. See ya.
You too. Okay, bye.
Okay, and here's Dom Palm. Hello, Palm.
Hello, Sir Richard, my darling. You're doing such a great job at reporting everything that we need to know.
Well, thank you.
Now,
I have to say that mosquito on the screen looks very menacing.
Well, I just have to tell you, about 2 weeks ago, I watched an article, a video report of University of British Columbia and modifying mosquitoes, and they're going to release them. But I just found an article, and you can look it up for yourself, and it's by CBC News, and it's called Slap It, Send It, : UBC researcher wants you to mail him dead mosquitoes for climate change study.
Wow.
And it also says the world's deadliest animal. They've killed approximately half of all people that have ever lived.
I'm sorry, what was
and
that
then
again?
They go on about
that?
And then they go on about DNA. I'm looking at this right now. It is a CBC Canada News article, and it was posted on June 19th, 2022.
Yeah, okay, I'm bringing it up here. Yeah, some other news outlets have covered the same story, I see. So I'll bring it up here for you. Slap it and send it.
But they have more. They have updates, but it wasn't on CBC. I found a video, I think it was on either YouTube or Rumble, and it showed that they were doing, and Bill Gates had funded them to do these studies and then to release these mosquitoes.
Ah. So what's the idea here is you slap it and kill it. If you're slapping it, then you're killing it. And they want you to send dead mosquitoes in the mail?
That's what the article says.
So it says here, Dan Peach says climate change may have pushed more blood-sucking insects into BC and Yukon. Oh, okay. So he's saying because everything's warming up, they're moving further north. A Culex mosquito, the species of the insect known to transmit West Nile virus, dun 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 dun, be afraid, be very, very afraid, is pictured on human skin. UBC, entomologist, blah, blah. Dana Peach is asking British Columbians and Yukoners to send him dead skeeters in the mail so he can track how different species are moving north as a result of climate change. I see. I see.
Oh, and there's way more to it than that.
Okay, so what else do we have going on here? What's the other aspect of the story that we need to be alarmed about? He says, Peach says, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I'm just saying there's follow-ups, and there are videos online, and if you Google it, and Bill Gates has funded this project, and it's going, they're going to be releasing them, and that is what the video showed, and they're saying that they're releasing them with some kind of substance or genetically modified so that people will no longer die of malaria.
Well, I just actually read all the information about what it really is, and they're trying to basically control the population of the particular species of mosquito that carries malaria. So reduce the population of those mosquitoes by killing them through selective breeding with genetically modified male mosquitoes that then make it impossible for the female mosquitoes to reproduce properly. And so it basically kills off those mosquitoes. That's what they're doing. It genetically modified male mosquitoes impregnating, or I guess fertilizing the eggs of the females of that particular species so that the offspring are then basically sterile or die. And then you get a lower mosquito population. They're playing with fire, as we kind of pointed out. And once you release that into the wild, I think you're upsetting the balance of nature. It could have, I think, really negative impacts on the ecology. That's my personal opinion. I don't agree with it.
Well, my personal opinion is this: follow the money. And if you're an invading force and getting funded by other countries or nations or anyone like Closey baby, and you want to follow the art of war, then this is a good way to fulfill that, because the article says they've killed approximately half of all people that have ever lived over history. So read between the lines, my dear, and that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Well, on that cheery note,
I know it's not. But I do have a cheery note, though.
Okay.
I have a new. Okay, on the cheery note, well, I've been watching all the things that you show about Biden, and I looked up and I was thinking, how they call him Sleepy Joe.
Yep.
And then I thought, oh, well, I bet the term would be buffoon, Brandon. Because if you look up buffoon, buffoon, B-U-F-F-O-N, and if you look it up on the dictionary, it describes him perfectly. And I don't think that that's the real Biden. I've been really investigating it. There's masks, there's masks, videos on masks. I used to study makeup artistry. I'm aware of these.
Pam, we have to be very careful what we say here. That is one of those, I've never really mentioned this on the show before, but that is one of those subjects that YouTube and Facebook don't really like us talking about. So, yeah, it's okay. I appreciate the call though, but you know what? Let's move on because I've got Alan up next, and I think it was a great call about the mosquitoes, and I appreciate it very much.
All right, thank you, Sir Richard.
All right, Dom Palm, thank you so much.
Toodaloo.
Okay, see ya. And here's the man, direct from British Columbia. How are things out there?
Hey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
On the coast.
Oh, they're awesome. They're awesome. They're always awesome for me. I'm just waiting for my old lady. She's coming in from Oklahoma tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
So she's hitting Toronto Airport. I'm waiting to see how the smoke is. We'll find out how bad it really is, eh? Because like in here in BC, when the smoke's bad, they stop the planes and every damn thing, right?
Right. So what's it like
The
where
last
you
few
are?
years,
You have smoke where you are tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a muggy evening. It's like it's humid. Anyway, I'm not good on the heat. I'm the guy that likes 25 and under, and I'm good to come out and play. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I called you about, two things. The one thing was I didn't get to finish up last night when I called the whole Bogosian thing. There was two reasons I thought that were more of option than anything. And the one was the Trojan horse, which Leo had brought up.
Yeah.
And the second one is just simply pride. The greatest downfall of all mankind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you heard about how, you know, they're trying to absorb Wagner, and that's really his whole start, right?
Yeah.
Because he was Putin's chef. That's how he got started. Then he got the contract. And then, you know, he grew from there. And then he's getting all that ripped out from under him after all of his successes.
Yeah.
And then that's a gut punch, right? Like that's a pride thing. And from his buddy, right? Because his buddy, nobody's the cook if you're not friends with the guy, you know, up in the Kremlin kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So there was that was the second thing I forgot to mention because I didn't want to forget the callers and make comment on each of them. I try to be polite that way. And then the second thing was about the voting and the education being mandatory, right?
Voting and education. I'm not sorry, you've lost
education
me.
For political education in schools.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were talking about that the other night. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I had commented about how I think also aside from education that we need to have a mandatory voting system for provincial and federal.
Yeah, which
and I'd heard this from you.
But okay, cool.
Yeah,
a lot of people
I'd heard your argument several times out over that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
over
then you told me I was wrong.
Year? No, I said I agree to disagree. I can't say that you're wrong, but I do have a question for you based on that piece of the conversation, and that is we've already got 100 years of proof that it didn't work having a mandatory voting system. So what else is there that we can do to get people to vote aside from becoming populist?
More tyranny.
Well,
even more.
Trudeau's winning this way, bro. Unbelievably. But no, seriously, like on a serious level though, like what other like serious fixes could we do? Like that doesn't lead, because I agree with you on the whole freedom bit. That's why I love the channel, right?
Yeah.
The freedom of speech, the truckers, the whole nine. I mean, I'm there with you. But I mean, the bottom line is if I have to have a government and they have to rule over me, it just doesn't seem like a tall order to me to go in and vote. You know, and I mean, everybody gets, you know, they're like once every voting cycle, they get a couple of days off of work to get in and do it.
I don't think that mandatory voting would give you the result that you're looking for anyway. Because
what it does, the result that I'm looking for is it's in the short term, it's getting everybody in touch with the fact that they have a political system, with the education and the forced voting, right? That forces their action,
Well,
right?
are you free?
And then because they've learned
if you're being forced to vote?
But are we ever free otherwise, really? Have we ever really been free?
Shouldn't you have the
Because in my mind, like since I was 17, like going through court, like since I was, sorry?
If you don't even have the fundamental freedom to decide whether or not you're going to vote, I mean, you should have the freedom to just not participate if you choose to, in my view. And here's the issue that I have.
But then if you did it, but then if you were to do it that way, right? Why not make a non-vote a vote of non-vote?
Well, what purpose
make
does
it
that
count as that?
A non-vote.
But you see what I mean? Like
you already get that.
Like if somebody doesn't vote,
you can tell
like
how many people don't vote, so you can count it.
Well, like in the Senate, right? Like you got abstinent votes, right? People who abstain from voting.
Then if
but it still counts. It still counts in a sense, right?
I don't see how it makes a difference. If you okay, so you count the people who don't. You count the people who don't vote. Same thing.
No, but if their vote, like if you didn't vote, then it was automatically a vote against the government of the day. You know what I mean?
But
like it was a vote of non-confidence. Like it counted as a vote of non-confidence.
But all the non-confidence vote does is force an election.
Right. Well, even still, isn't that even better?
So then what do you do?
But then you're still moving forward and you're not stuck.
Well, you're having an election to determine who the government's going to be. And you're saying that have a vote of non-confidence. So if the majority of people don't vote, then you say you have to have another election.
So then maybe it's time to dig up some new parties, people.
No. You know,
maybe that's the signal.
Well, you can have as many parties as you want, and it's still not going to give you the results you're looking for. You know what the larger issue is? It's not whether people vote or not. It's what's in people's minds, and also what's in their hearts, but mostly what's in their minds. It's unfair manipulation of media. It's unfair financing of political campaigns. It's manipulating the public through information and campaign warfare. You need
that's where I comment.
You need rules that create a level playing field for all parties that come to the table. And when I say parties, I mean every candidate, so that everybody has access to the debates, so that every media outlet is compelled in some way to provide fair coverage.
No, I can't disagree with you there.
And I don't know how you do this, but there has to be some kind of mechanism in place. So there are checks and balances there in case people are simply outright lying to people to manipulate the election. Now, these are very complex problems that need to be addressed. But today, that's where you don't get the result that you want, because you can force people to vote. But if one party is promising a bunch of free stuff like the Liberals do every election, that's why people vote for them. They're being offered free things, a false sense of security. We'll give you free health care, a free house. You don't have to work. You're going to get a universal basic income. You can sit at home on your sofa and eat Doritos while you watch reruns of Gilligan's Island, and you don't have to work, and you'll be taken care of, and you can do whatever you want. Plus, you get a free set of snow tires and air conditioning, because that's a right based on what the government is, going to bestow upon you in terms of rights. That's what people vote for. That's
I understand that that's the case, but I mean, if you take away their funding, then you get a proper press again, right? So you've got competing.
Great start.
So we can't really deal with that until we get rid of these clowns. Right? Like that's the reality.
Yeah. And that's
anyway, as far as like the whole voting thing, I think that's really the only way out. I mean, we've got practice, 50 to 100 years or whatever voting this other way, and it hasn't been working. That's all I really had to say about that. I'm not.
I think it's not the simplest of things, but I think
it's the simplest of fixes.
I sort of disagree.
That's the way I see it.
I think that it sort of has worked. It's not perfect. It hasn't been perfect, not by a long shot. But when I go out on the street, I don't get shot in the head. When my mom needed care today,
We didn't, not used to.
she got, yeah, I mean, but in my neighborhood, I'm not getting shot in the head. There are a lot of positive aspects to our society and the way that it has been. The country, I think, was a lot better than it is today. We've got some serious
absolutely.
problems, right?
But can I bring this to the forefront just now that you're on that topic? The last thing the point I wanted to make, now that I recalled it, was the whole Chinese interference thing.
Yeah.
I know, was it you I watched had put up something about Chinese interference to Mr. O?
Might have been. We've talked about it for sure.
Conservative Mr. O.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I found was really interesting at the time when it came out, where they were talking about the interference and everything, it was all hot and heavy. But the CSIS guy came out and said, this has been through all parties, 4 generations.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So now back to what you were just saying about this being, a good democratic system.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm in disagreement with that. And the way how I've come to that idea is when I was going through group homes and things, constantly going through court, this house, that house, juvie system, adult system. You meet a lot of lawyers, a lot of judges, you hear a lot of chatter. And there was always chatter about politics in the courthouse and how it affects your case or doesn't affect your case.
Mm-hmm.
So these influences have always been there with the new media.
Yeah, to some degree or another. But that's the case
We're
in
all
every
awakened.
Every country with every political system. There is corruption.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us, bro.
Well, you're looking
I
for an
don't give a fuck what they're doing. Looking at what we're doing and how does it work or not.
So
But
largely speaking, I think that overall the country evolved in a pretty positive way until we kind of got maybe to the 1960s, and Pierre Trudeau started to take us more and more in a globalist, neoliberal, woke direction. And it has progressed from there until we get to where we're at today. I think that you've hit a very important issue, and I think that there are serious problems like the one you've addressed with foreign financing or foreign funding, illegal or otherwise, in our electoral process. And I think that is something that does need to be addressed. That is an example of that supports what I've said before, which is I think if you're going to run for public office, there needs to be complete transparency on your finances. We need to be able to see those bank accounts, see exactly what a politician is making, where it's coming from, and where it's going. Every penny. Like that should be a prerequisite.
No argument. They should be criminally, financially, they should be investigated from the moment they start running until 10 years after they've left.
Sure. Because
they should have a running file. Each and every public servant should have a running file automatically.
Including after they leave office.
There's your job.
That's important too, because they often
10 years after.
They get into power, and then when they leave, they've made deals along the way where they become lobbyists later, and there should be regulations on that too, right? That
well, and that's the other one. Kill the lobbyists. Get the money out of the politics, right? That's the other one. And then there was another one I like to spout about. Oh, I say just fire the feds, save a shit ton of dough, and we can all harmonize. Remember Trudeau? Like at the beginning of the pandemic, we all had to harmonize. Yeah. Remember that one coming out? Yeah, I thought that was fantastic when everybody was asking him for help and he said harmonize.
See, I think when we sit here and we identify specific areas of concern, I think that's honestly the longer term, more stable, realistic solution to these problems. You target a problem, you come up with a solution, and you implement it, like financial transparency. That's a perfect example.
Oh, absolutely. I'm 100% agreement with you there. Just like Pam was saying, follow the money, baby. You'll always find the truth if you follow the money.
Right.
And, you know, it wasn't Sherlock Holmes that invented this thing.
See,
I'm sure it's even far older than that.
And I would say that in a free and democratic
no
society, the problem the problem we have is that it's the politicians limiting the freedom of the people when it should be the other way around. The people should be limiting the freedom of the politicians by saying
that's why the forced vote, I think, does that. I think it puts a thumb on them with the forced vote. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I don't think the forced vote does it, though, because you can force people to vote, but if they don't have correct information or if they have skewed information in their heads because there's been, manipulation of the media,
but even
improper funding, government funding of all the mainstream media, then they fill people's heads with whatever they want to fill it full of.
But you can't say this isn't a good idea because of the media that Trudeau funds. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can't have the one because of Trudeau.
I think it's a bad idea because
the bottom line is like the education in the school, if they understand the system that they're working within, so that they can learn to win within it.
Well, I think
First
it's a bad
and foremost,
idea because I believe in
basic.
freedom and people should have the freedom to decide whether they vote or not. And if you can't even have that level of freedom, then you're making a mistake right out of the gate, in my view. But
I respect that view too. But it's just like I say, this hasn't been working. So I'm looking at, okay, well, what else is there?
Well, it certainly hasn't been working in the last, say, 5 years or so. Certainly not since Trudeau came to power. And there've been problems.
You ever by chance listen to Matt Ehret and his wife Cynthia?
I'm not sure.
He's the Canadian Patriot Press, Canadian Patriot Press.
Sounds familiar.
He's a historian,
don't think so.
Journalist historian. I think his wife's a professor historian.
Yeah.
But they get in, and they're both Canadian, and they get into the real deep history part of Canada, who we are, what we're about.
Well,
like I brought up about the Privy Council once upon a time.
Whatever. I have a question.
I
have a question.
Sure.
What do you do with somebody who doesn't vote if voting is mandatory? Shoot him? Fine him? Jail him?
Well, no, I'm not a violent man.
So I don't know. What do we do? Make them do 20 push-ups? Give them a ticket, an $880 fine, lock them down. What do you do?
Yeah, I don't have all the answers. I'm not. In fact, I don't pretend to have the answer. But that's why I call in is to talk to you, right? So we can talk shit out, and hopefully people hear us and they come in with some good ideas. And it's a let the snowball roll down that hill, bro. That's sort of where I'm at.
Too Klaus Schwab for me. You will vote and you will like it.
Right. Well, I don't know. I would say, minor penalties or something stupid but the point is just to get everybody actually voting. Right. And then that way too, you do keep a running count year to year of your population, and then you can see if there's big discrepancies in the voting patterns, and you can do a lot of tracing. It's a lot easier that way. It sets up a lot of things that way too. That are good for keeping things transparent.
See, I'm against the mandatory census.
But like
too.
I said,
I don't think that's right. The government forces you to do the census. That's mandatory. I'm totally against that. If I don't want to tell the government, give any of them, them my personal information, then I think that should be my right. But they say, no, you have to tell us everything. You have to fill this out because we need this information. Well, tough for you, but it's mandatory. So I have a real distaste for any government mandate to do anything. Vote, fill out the census, stay home, put a mask on, whatever it is, I'm opposed. So I'm about freedom all the way, baby.
Well, I hear you. I am too. But I just I didn't have anything else. And I'm like, well, we got to talk about this, people. Well, hopefully we stuck a bug in somebody's ear and they can come back and stick one in ours.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're not resolving the issue tonight. This will linger for generations, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, back to the Maverick family. Love you all. Peace. Talk to you tomorrow, and I'll let you know if the old lady lands safely or not due to the smoke or not.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night, sir.
Take care, you too.
All right. Who do we have up next?
Hey, it's Note.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but Chris Guy apparently is on to some election fraud. Apparently a fellow was given 3 voter cards, and he said to stay tuned. So I thought that's interesting, so I'm staying tuned. That's all I know.
Okay. Nevertheless, I mean, even if there was, he got 1.1% of the vote. So
yeah, but still, any amount of fraud is something that should be looked into. I think.
Okay, but I mean, he got 1.1%. You can't tell me, and nothing against Chris Sky, okay? Because he was on the show.
Hey, I'm not endorsing.
No,
I'm
no,
not
I know, but
endorsing
it's just-
anybody, or I'm just saying, like that perked my ears up a little bit
I
because
don't
I was
care
like,
how much fraud he uncovers. It's not going to change the outcome of the election. And
no, that's not the
he's just-
point.
yeah.
That ain't the point. I'm just saying any kind of discrepancies need to be examined very clearly.
Sure.
I mean, everything. That's important, I think. And did you see that Prince Charles hit the clock? It looked like a stupid game show.
You mean
Did you see
King
that?
Charles?
Yeah, well, sure.
The
Okay.
King?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see
the
that.
king.
I don't pay much attention to the royal family or the king, honestly. What did he do today?
Well, I don't normally. Today, what's his nuts? Activated the climate clock.
Oh, really?
Oh, it looks like a game. It's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. Like these people with
at that.
soon packers, soon whatever. Blech.
Climate catastrophe
Gag-worthy.
countdown clock.
Yeah, here we go. You didn't see that, eh?
Not. Well, because it's not really, wasn't on my, oh, hang on a second here. I'm sorry. I took you off the screen. Just one moment. Let me bring you back. I need you here. Okay, now they can hear you again. Sorry about that. Now I have to go over here to get the
No worries.
Thanks for bringing this to our attention. This
Yeah.
will be entertaining. So here's King Charles, the king.
I can't even call him that, but yeah, whatever.
And he's punching the climate change catastrophe clock. Shall we let this run? Oh, let's. Come on, King.
Yeah.
Is this like a game show?
Hit that
does he have to
button.
answer a skill testing question?
I know, right? I mean, that was my first thing when I saw it. I was like, what the ever loving? Jeez. Give me strength.
So he hits that button and then it's like countdown
Yep.
to Armageddon?
Countdown to 2030, and they're gonna be paying close attention as to how fast we can get zero emissions and whatever their scam rhetoric is.
Okay. I'm watching. Come on, King. Get the show on the road here. You think we got till 2030
Yeah.
to wait for you?
I know, right? Nobody's interested in what he's got to say. It was funny because Prince William.
Look, they one hand on top of the other. And
Oh yeah, the big yeah.
Sorry, on the screen. Oh, there it is. Oh, the clock is ticking. Those hands are moving awful
Clock
fast.
is ticking.
We are screwed now.
And did you see that Prince William too? They put all these barriers up because of Prince William, and only 6 people showed up. It was funny.
Wow. To limit global warming, your actions matter.
Mm-hmm.
It also shows renewable energy lifeline.
Wow.
Which monitors the global consumption generated by renewables.
Well, King,
Now, Mayor of London, I'm also
do you think the king limits his intake of meat, or
These powerful images
has reduced his air travel at all? I suspect not.
of the climate
No, not at all. King Yuccaputs? I don't think so.
And living in that great big palace, what do you think it costs to heat that thing?
And which the peasants pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's ridiculous, right?
Is that an energy efficient way for the king to live in a giant castle?
No. And Chow in Toronto wants to, I can't remember the name of it, but wants people that have condos to minimize the size of them. And I don't know, I can't remember what that.
Yeah, I think it was something to the effect that she wants people to sort of like divide them up and rent out.
Yeah. Like, give me a break.
Yeah. She can go first. And have people move into her hut.
Yeah, you go. Exactly. That was exactly what I thought. I was like, are you frigging kidding me? By the way, before I forget, I must have missed something. What happened to FU Friday?
I kind of put an end to it. It was just, it's just not me. I was uncomfortable with it from the beginning. Just a little too much profanity for me. I'm trying to run, a credible organization here, a program that's providing real value to people. They're trying to be serious about this, right? And I think that it served a purpose for 2 or 3 weeks. It let people vent. I think that was okay, but but enough was enough. Let's move on. Let's get back to the serious stuff.
Maybe a rename Vent You Friday.
Yeah, well, I've done other programs in the past, like we did one special broadcast where we let people call in to express their feelings about Justin Trudeau, to tell Justin Trudeau why they think he sucks. So it's kind of fun, tongue in cheek, but also serious. And people brought up serious issues. And I think that was a fairly effective program because it allowed people to vent. But at the same time, we also had serious discussions. And, it wasn't entirely based on just, F Trudeau. It wasn't quite like that. And I think a little bit of it, but, so it was pretty reflective, I think, of what's going on in our communities and our society. So, yeah.
Okay. No, I was just curious. I must have missed something there. And apparently Biden has been impeached. The vote went into impeachment. So I'm keeping my ear to the ground on that. That's very interesting, according to CPAC anyway.
So he has been impeached?
The vote apparently went for impeaching. Was the last I heard anyway.
Looking it up. I know they were looking they want to do it.
Yeah. And that stupid Bill Gates, man, why isn't he in prison? I mean, people like that are out there publicly actually, spewing off what they're going to do against humanity, and they go ahead and do it. Like, if the average Joe went online and said in an interview, I'm going to go and I'm going to inflict such and such so that this many people are going to catch this disease or that disease or die, they're going to be arrested, right? And I mean, obviously, again, like, because he's got so much money, he sits in his ivory tower just carrying on and, sending out billions of killer mosquitoes. Yeah, it just makes me go,
look at this. Russian General Sergei Surovikin has been arrested.
There you go.
Amid rumors he had advanced knowledge of the Wagner rebellion.
There's a lot happened. There's a lot of movement and shaking going on.
Look at that. Maybe that'll quell some of those comments from people where they're saying, "Oh yes, but Putin is so weak now." Well, maybe not.
It's hard to say. There's some pretty fanatical people out there. But
so what do we know about this story? So Surovikin has been arrested, with the Moscow Times saying that it has received confirmation of his apprehension from 2 sources who are close with the nation's Ministry of Defense. They say that the department has not officially provided its own comment on the matter. However, we are seeing that, there's American officials trying to confirm. U.S. intelligence has reportedly asserted that Surovikin knew about the planned rebellion. And what else am I seeing here? And of course, we know Prigozhin was calling for some sort of armed rebellion at some point. He could have resulted in a 20-year prison term for him. And even though I know Putin did agree to that deal to allow him to go to Belarus, I think he's in a little bit of trouble in the long run.
Indeedy. I think the proverbial shite is going to be flying very soon in many directions.
So that's a new development tonight.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. That's very interesting to see that.
Yeah. I know. And, of course, Madonna was found unresponsive. I guess you heard about that.
Oh, yeah, the bacterial infection, I guess she had, right?
Yeah. And holy cow, people are not kind. I mean, I got to say, I used to appreciate who she was way back in the 80s and stuff, but never, and she lost me quite some time ago, especially since the whole COVID thing. And, but I don't wish anybody, ill or whatever. And, but people sure are not being kind on that announcement.
Yeah, well, she's postponed her celebration tour. She's very talented, but she's kind of weird. And she's become
back in the day. Yeah, she's just gotten very strange and off the wall. And basically, my humble opinion, she sold out like many stars have done, unfortunately, to whatever, not to get into any of that. But yeah, she sold out. And it never seems to bode well for the people that sell out. I'm really looking forward to Jim Caviezel. Yeah, July 4th. I'm really looking forward to that coming out. That's going to be huge. And he's now on Truth Social. Apparently, there was a Twitter account in his name, and it wasn't actually him. And now that account says fan page. So he didn't get the page shut down, but he got them to put fan page. And so I guess they're revving up for the release of the movie. And he's putting himself in place for all of that, I'm guessing. But I think that's going to be major. And apparently he's teaming up with, I can't remember his name right now, with a fellow in Canada to go after all the human trafficking in Canada. There's going to be a huge team up with. So there's a lot of moving and shaking going on right now. Kind of hopeful in a lot of ways, right? Scary, but hopeful.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I appreciate the call tonight. I think what we'll do is move on and probably wrap up for the evening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All righty. You're welcome. You have a good evening.
You too.
Good night, all.
All right. See ya. And that brings us to our conclusion for the night. It's 8:32 p.m. and I am going to wrap it up for the evening. Just a reminder again that you can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. Let me just bring that up on the screen here for you. And that will help us in our ongoing struggle to provide an independent media voice and also to provide you guys with a voice. As you just saw, you get to call in and share your thoughts, and you are an integral part of the show here on the Maverick News Channel. So freedomreporters.com, which you see down there on the bottom of the screen, actually, that's probably the best way to support the show. You can also donate in the Rumble Rants and also at maverickdonations.com. Right there, maverickdonations.com or freedomreporters.com. That's how you can support what we're doing here. And we'll keep you up to date on the news of the day every time that we come back here, as well as what's going to be happening with that new convoy, which is planned for later this summer or early in the fall. Not sure exactly how that's going to, unfold or what it's going to look like. But I can tell you there are a lot of people involved. So we'll see how much traction it gets. And we will keep you up to date right here on this channel as we move forward, along with global affairs, because we are increasingly providing coverage of important events like the war in Ukraine. And we have, thanks to Lori, the ambassador, Dmitry Polyansky, coming back on the program for another interview soon. So that's going to be a great thing. And a lot of other guests lined up in the days and the weeks ahead as well. So with that being said, I am again going to bid you adieu for tonight. I will be back tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.